Thank you, Dr. Wenstrup, and I want to also take a moment to express gratitude for your heroic efforts on the baseball field that day. There were members of the Republican conference that likely may not be with us today if it were not for the heroic efforts that you provided on the field. So we want to show gratitude for that.
Thank you.
At this time, I will begin by recognizing myself for the purpose of asking a question, and then recognize the ranking member, and then our colleagues who might also have additional questions. Let me begin. In 2018, a chartered train carrying Republican lawmakers collided with a garbage truck in Virginia, killing one person. In 2020, the COVID pandemic forced Congress to go virtual. My classmate, Congressman-elect Luke Letlow, the husband of the late Julia Letlow, died from complications before he was actually seated as a member of Congress. How do these events, in addition to more recent events like the recent assassination attempts of President Trump, put continuity in a new light?
Well, you know, you saw so many people with COVID dying, and at first we didn't know who was dying and why they were dying necessarily. We've gradually learned who was more vulnerable than others, but at the same time, you know, we have people here with a lot of different medical conditions and different ages, and we saw with COVID that those were reasons for people to be affected and not necessarily live. We fared fairly well, fortunately, in Congress. But there again, that's another situation where we could find ourselves with a huge absence. The train wreck, I can tell you, being on that as well, where we had a large number of members of the House and Senate, if we had hit that truck in a different way, we would have derailed. We were fortunate we hit the back end of the truck and it went spinning. So again, we lucked out. But if we derailed, who knows how many people might have died. So you have to take all of these things in mind. And not only is it important how we posture ourselves and protect ourselves when we gather and even individually, we have to think of what happens afterwards. And, you know, as I look at the baseball field, if Capitol Police weren't there, I mean, Steve Scalise took a bullet for all of us. And because that's the reason Capitol Police were there. If they weren't there, this guy, I'm telling you, walks into this field, he kills 20 to 30 members of Congress and their staff in one morning, changing the balance of power in the House of Representatives. And I would contend that's an insurrection by one person, by one person. And you know what? We try to protect ourselves as best we can, and we've made changes, and we try to increase our security. But bad things happen, and you can have all the security you want. That doesn't stop a pandemic.
Dr. Wenstrup, in my opening statement, I mentioned that there have been 45 proposed constitutional amendments to address the continuity issue, and that none of them have actually been successful. In your opinion, why is a constitutional amendment the sort of only option that you feel like would address this issue?
Well, our founders made constitutional amendments tough for good reason, that it would take the will of a large group of people. I really don't know why all the other opportunities have not come together, but I can't think of a time in history where the continuity of government has been as threatened as it is today. And I think that I would hope that the American people and all members of Congress, Senate, and the White House would have an understanding as to why this needs to take place, and we probably shouldn't dawdle. I consider not having something in place a national security threat.
Thank you for that. I would say the Civil War times may have also been a time where there was certainly concern about continuity given you know, the engagement, but I appreciate your comments there.